but she isn't entirely convinced. You can see that it made her think, but not anything, it wasn't a powerful argument to her. She apparently has something more powerful that's behind her. And it's all right, let's stop here. I realize, even though nobody has responded to us in the thing, that once again I am not getting sound, and everything is set the way it should be set, but I'm getting no sound. Your voices. It's whether or not you are hearing you guys. Your bar is not bouncing, and so I am going to go here. Something is off again.
Refuse to acknowledge stone-faced people.
All right, there it is. Now, once
Go sit in the
again,
corner.
we have, I reset it, reloaded it, and it's back again. But once again, we've lost a whole bunch of time on the sound. This is very frustrating that we lose this every week, that it resets itself. But I am seeing your bar now coming across as having sound, so I suspect we lost the first part again. Something is resetting this every week. So I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we are current, for those of you who wondered where the sound was, we are back with it, and we are in the middle of a battle in the forest. So I'll chop this video to this point so that people will not have to go through a lead-in that was silent at the beginning. Unfortunately, we missed the summary that we did at the beginning, but I will have to reload this apparently every week, because it resets every week. I don't know. All right, anyway, Vlad, it is your turn.
So Vlad, who has the warhorse has a speed of 60 feet, is going to charge up past Alex on his ethereal blue horse of magic and holiness. I'm going to use a hooves attack, which I don't have, and I'm not forced to actually have to do the thing. Does a 19 hit her? Oh, it's with advantage, so.
It hits. It hits.
Okay, and that is 2d6 plus 4. For 9 damage.
Very good. She was just
Nice,
getting up, trying to get up, and she takes
That
another
was
9
my
damage.
that was my hooves attack. As part of trampling charge, if a horse moves 20 feet in a straight line towards a creature right before hitting it with a hooves attack, the target must succeed on DC 4D strike saving throw or knock prone. I don't know, because she's already prone, I don't know if this affects her, or if it would just, like, she's getting up and then I kick her in the ribs as she's getting up and she falls prone again.
She just falls prone again. Yeah, she was in the process of starting to rise, and you just knocked her down again and did another 9 damage.
If the target is prone, the horse can take a bonus action to make another attack with its hooves against the target. So I'm going to do the same thing again.
Nah, commit. You've hit her prone while she's prone. She's now standing.
Is that
Commit.
Okay. 19 hits again.
Okay, so that would be 23 for 11 damage.
She never gets up. She is trampled into the ground.
And then Vlad is going to use Sacred Flame on this pile of twigs over there.
Very good.
So it's a DC 15 dexterity saving throw. Or take 15 radiant damage. That's almost max damage for that. Nice.
Probably gonna get, yeah, a whole bunch of them came up. It crit saved.
Oh.
They crit saved 21-21 roll. And so they don't take half, as I recall. Nope. So the flames.
Nope, just no damage. So
But you do manage, as they duck, you do manage to set a few flames to the trees behind them, but the trees are fairly damp from the persistent fog in the area, so it doesn't seem to be starting a forest fire, it just some of the branches are burning.
and then with the rest of my movement, I'm going to move back over here.
Very good.
And that's the end of my turn.
And the twigs can move 20 feet, so let's see if they can get to... They can just...
Victor did roll a 9. He's just out of turn.
Oh yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
How am I after a 6?
Yeah, you're right. It, for some reason it didn't put it in the right order. Or maybe I did something that moved it, I'm not sure. So it is Victor's turn, correct?
Alright, let's see. So we already took care of the druid.
Yes.
Oh, I took care of it real quick.
Alright,
Alex just was standing there preparing spear upheld, and then I came over and stomped on him a few times. Kill steal.
Rather,
we still have another target.
Is going to paw at the ground for a moment, and then charge in with Deerock on his back, making a hooves attack. 1 second here.
I'll release my action after Victor's.
Damn!
All right.
If I'm even given the chance.
So yeah.
All right. So
This is the
you
story how a
can-
party of horses went on to defeat Strahd.
Just 2 horses.
Yeah, 21 damage, and then it is a charge attack, so they need to make the save or be knocked prone. If they're knocked prone, I get to stomp them again.
Nope, it's if they are prone, specifically. Not if they're not
Nope.
prone. It says specifically if the target is prone.
On his, it says, if knocked prone, the warhorse can make another attack.
Oh, I'm looking at it. It says if the target is prone, the horse can make a bonus action to make another attack with its hooves against the target.
Ooh, what page is that?
That is on page 311.
Up to GM at the end of the day. It's
It's up,
very
it is up to
wording, I
GM.
think.
That would, I would have to go with the rules as written on that, because they get very particular on the is or is already. So that one I would probably have to leave with if it's already prone, because it sounds like that's what it is. Once the verification of the is or is already prone kind of thing is verified. But you did do 21 damage, which took down another pair. There are basically 3 of this grove has disappeared. There are only 3 of them remaining.
The horses are the MVP of this story.
Yeah, 2 horses. So you have charged into them, and they do a dex save, and their dex was 18. Your DC is 14.
It's
so
strength
they are
save.
not. They are not.
The strength.
Oh, deck. Okay, I thought it was an either or. Okay, strength. That is a little different. That is a 15, which still beats. Okay. So they did not get knocked
And
down.
Deerock has his attack that he already.
Exactly. So Deerock, now you may make
Deerock-
your attack.
I will make 2 spear thrusts. Let me just get my sheet up real quick. And the raging 1, blood spear. Why do I have 4? Oh, 2-handed. Okay. So 1 and 2.
Okay. The first one hits because there's no advantage on them. So you do 9 damage to them. So another one drops.
All right, then that ends my turn.
All right, Victor has had his turn. The twigs now are going to start scratching and clawing at the. You're still in horse form, right, Victor?
Yep.
They'll start clawing at the things. 4 of them would have hit. That means only 3 of them. That was half. So 2 of them will have hit, and they critted you for. So that would be a total of 18 damage that you took.
That leaves me at 1.
And then you get it all back on your turn
Well, that's
because you're a vampire.
Sylvia.
Yeah, I don't regen that fast. Let me put this up just for tracking.
Sylvia.
Yes. Back to me again. So, alright, main thing is dead. I think I'm just going to hold my action and see if anything else pops out for now. Because, I mean, the boys are already on top of it. They can handle it.
What
But if something else tries to ambush,
You can't generally hold an action, but you can specifically hold an action. What action are you specifically holding, and on what conditions will it enact? You will lose a spell slot if it is a spell.
Gonna. No, that's a reaction. 1 second. I'm gonna hold a vicious mockery in case something pops out of the bushes.
Okay, so if any other things come out of the bushes,
But yeah, so yeah, if someone tries to ambush the group, I'll do vicious mockery.
very good. Durok.
Let's go ahead and stab again, or I guess thrust.
First one hits for another 9, so another one bites the dust. There is only basically there's one of them is kind of barely standing on his feet, but you've basically got only one healthy one left. Alexander.
Ooh, there is a druid corpse underneath me, and some sticks being stepped on by a couple of horses.
Correct.
All right.
That's pretty much what the position we're in right now.
Now, this is something we never really fussed about, but is she dead or just dropped below 0?
She's dead.
Uh,
Okay.
Mobs die unless there's special circumstances. They don't have the same unconscious state that you guys do.
So, Alex is a little curious why a person who summons sticks and attacks, would come at us like outnumbered, outgunned, and out of the blue. He's going to take his turn and examine the corpse to see if she was potentially, I don't know, druid rabbit, or there was something we're missing, because Alex smells an ambush.
Are you going to investigate the corpse?
Investigate?
Yes. The only thing you find out of the ordinary is you find she is wearing a necklace that is made out of one of the Strahd gold coins. Picture of Strahd on it, the Barovian gold. She is wearing a Barovian gold coin on a necklace.
So I don't smell any magic on it.
Do I see anything with my Batman vision?
Are you able to keep
Alex
that?
is going to hold it up towards the lad.
You're able to keep
It lasts
that?
for 10 minutes.
Okay, so in the middle of combat, I wasn't sure if it had to be maintained or not. Are you specifically looking at it? You are, last I saw, you were still charging it so far. So are you on your turn going to investigate it?
I'm not specifically looking at it. However, I see How it works is I see a glowing aura around any magic object or effect.
I will tell you that you would note to your eyes as he turns this corpse over and looks at it, the coin seems to have a magical aura on it. It is glowing.
Does it have a school of magic?
It is a control spell. What would that be?
Probably enchantment.
Basically, you get the feeling that this coin was placed on her in order to gain control over her mind.
Oh shit. Okay. Can't do anything because it's not my turn.
I assume it's his turn to try and figure out what he now knows. He's going to obviously, hold up the necklace. We kind of showed everyone and say, I'm basically just say, be on be on ward for an ambush. This person didn't come out here on her own.
I don't know.
Actually, mind control or not, I would have said that.
I don't know if this will come down to perception or not. It really is down to you as the GM here. But my argument is my character is incredibly insightful to a Sherlockian level, and I want to hopefully spend points in upgrading that maybe. And I was wondering, could I then perhaps roll an insight check to do some sort of almost crime scene investigation of looking around and just piece together the bits of information I've just seen? To give any sort of information, like looking at her, look at the necklace surroundings, all the evidence we've got together, and he kind of pieces something together in some sort of crime solvish fashion.
Give me an insight roll. I'll give you advantage.
Yeah. One of my best stats. Booyah.
Woo!
Yeah, you got a good roll on that one. Yes, you would have, as you looked around it, you don't see anything around in the trees. It doesn't seem to be anything but these. But with what you are looking at with this Strahd coin on her necklace, you are assuming that she is basically being commanded to slow you down, that someone is pulling the strings on what she's doing, because it doesn't make sense that she would clearly attack a well-armed group out in the middle of nowhere on her own, but you don't detect anything coming out of the bushes joining her. There's no more rustling in the bushes or anything, so it looks like she was perhaps driven against her will.
He'll probably just ponder for a moment, most likely against her will. I forgot the. I'd advise we make haste. Either something is happening severely at Krezk, or something along the way is waiting for us. Either way, I believe we should deal with this plant and be gone, and put Hell's Fury behind us in the process.
Very good, and with that, Vlad can take.
She's here to slow us down. Yeah.
Vlad, seeing this, is going to. He's going to continue to be Captain Killsteel. So my dog is just in the way. He's noticed that it's a magical thing and it is an enchantment school-based item, but there are more pressing concerns right now. So he's going to charge into this bunch of twigs.
Right now, there's basically only one twig left. That is a hit.
For 8 damage and DC 14 or knock 1.
You take down the weakened one, and the one that is remaining is very weak, very little left of it, and you said DC strength?
DC 14 strength, yes.
Oh, there's not enough left of it to be able to resist you at all. It very easily gets bowled over by the trampling of the horse's hooves. After all, it's not much more than a glorified grass and it is now laying there making little eeping sounds in the grass. There's not a whole
Does
lot
22
left.
hit as my horse rears up?
Oh yes, that definitely hits. You almost
My
don't
horse
have
rears
to,
up and stomps it into non-existence.
Yeah, you almost don't have to roll. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there is nothing left but just pieces of grass and leaves left. The solid woody parts of it are just sawdust at this point. There's nothing left
I would
but
like to
pieces
point
of
out-
leaves and sawdust.
I would like to point out that I did absolutely nothing in that fight, and everything was because of my horse.
Horses for the win.
God horse.
You are out
Are
of
we
combat.
still in? After that, then Vlad will trounce over to the necklace on a coin and ask Alex to hand it to him. May I see that, please?
Alex, do you hand him the coin?
I think
Oh wow, my push stock wasn't working. Yeah, I hand him over the coin and say, I just don't like this. No one just comes out and attacks for no good reason. Not when they're outnumbered and outgunned.
He's completely correct. She was here to slow us down. There's no question about it.
I
Well-
don't think that she did this because she wanted to. This coin has an enchantment on it. Whoever gave this to her, it forced her to be out here.
So you're saying we technically killed an innocent person that could have been saved?
Innocent, no, but not one who should have died.
Aren't they usually the people who don't deserve to die usually quote unquote innocent?
There are
There's degrees.
degrees. This one was one of the corrupted druids. However, she did not intend to attack us. If it wasn't for this coin, if it wasn't for this coin and whatever enchantment was placed upon it, she would have stayed away and she would have lived another day. In
I
any
believe it was
case,
more fear of her lord that put it there. I spoke to her. You all saw it. There was a flicker of recognition in her eyes. She was under no spell.
Lived another day to try to corrupt the land again.
in any case, you were correct, Halfling. We should continue on to Krezk. With all haste.
You see, Durak, you say that, and there's all these wonderful, wonderful stories and legends about the dryads helping the forest. They make the trees clean and strong and healthy so that the animals can live and the wildlife can live and the things that people hunt can live. They're not necessarily bad people. They just want to make sure the forests are ready.
I point my spear down to the broken twigs and ask her, "Does that look healthy to you?"
That also looks like someone who's being forced into doing something against their nature. You know, kind of like a slave.
I don't think it is particularly good for our mental health if we start arguing the moral grays of our endeavors. Things are muddy here as it is.
Well, sometimes some things have to get broken in order for things to get fixed. Trust me, I get it. I'm no stranger to hearing this stuff. I'm just saying. I'm just explaining it to him.
Yeah. Understood. After all, we need to make sure we don't lose sight of ourselves in all this. But anyway, onward, I suppose, and I'll snap the reins of my pony. He's probably like a foot shorter than everyone else because I didn't want a tall one.
Yeah, it'd be very much like the Lord of the Rings pictures with the little ponies way shorter than everything else.
Is it like one of those Scottish, really hairy ponies?
Yeah, the Shetland,
Shetland.
and those types of ponies, yeah. There's a couple of those short.
Those are serious races. Those are serious races done by jockeys as well with those, I kid you not.
I've seen it.
Oh, I don't
I've
doubt
seen the
it.
video.
And you are standing where the road to the winery takes off. You recognize this winery and heads down further towards Yester Hill and so forth. So you are familiar with this intersection. The intersection is by a very large stone bridge. It is like stone arches on either side of the bridge. It is not covered over, but there's huge arching stone way, very ancient looking, looks like it's been here since probably the kingdom was founded, but a very sturdy, very large stone bridge. And the road continues across the bridge and on to the west towards where you know Krezk is by the map.
Well, we go over the bridge.
Unless you
Vlad is
guys want to
still-
stop at the brewery, of course. This is out of character. I don't even know you know them very well, so.
I don't think we really have a reason to stop by the winery again.
Could beg more wine off of them, but other than that,
Why would we?
I still say we should go back to Valaki and stay there for 3 weeks.
No.
open up our own pie shop and sell real pies.
As you proceed west, you are climbing fairly steeply. It's kind of tiresome. If you didn't have a horse under you, you'd notice the climb because it's a steep road. And the air begins to grow noticeably colder. It's clear you are getting up beyond the kind of the snow level of the area, and you are getting up to a much higher altitude of the thing. You wind up...
Plus next to a lake, so it's colder.
True, that would help. You wind up coming up as you come to the entry to Krezk. You can clearly see there to the north of you there is a massive stone gatehouse with a tower on either side of it. Clearly there are soldiers in the gatehouse, and there you can see behind the walled area that prevents entry from around the side. You can see smoke rising from houses behind in the area, and you see some snow-covered peaks behind them. You can also see above and to the north of the village a very much taller mountain with some kind of major edifice, a very dramatic, almost castle-looking affair that's up on the peak behind the city. But there is quite a bit of settlement. There is a bell ringing coming from this edifice that's up on the mountain, very distant to you. It's about a mile from you, but you can clearly hear it ringing. It's almost relaxing, a kind of chiming, rhythmical chiming. Doesn't sound like it's being rung in alarm, just announcing something. And there's a slow ringing of this bell in the back thing. The general look of the village, with the smoke coming out of chimneys and the bell and what you assume is probably the abbey from the description you had heard, it's a more welcoming environment than you've seen, except perhaps in the Blue Water Inn. There is just a kind of a general welcoming feel to it.
Very picturesque. Reminds me of my days in the Abbey. Almost tranquil.
Yes,
I'm
it
curious
is.
what's the deal with the bell. It's usually a signal of some kind. Does anyone know what time it is? Maybe it's ding time.
It is about
Could just be
lunchtime.
called to prayers or general will be. You mentioned edifice in the mountains and all sorts. Does anything spark anything with my notes?
Not with your notes. That doesn't seem to fit, but it does fit with the description of the abbey that Danica told you.
So I'm still trying to work out the connection between that pool of light and things we need to be wary of, I recall.
You do see on the wall up by the parapets that there are 4 guards. They are in leather armor of some kind and are wearing what we would call very Russian-looking fur hats.
Well, Vlad, on his very holy steed of light, probably just my dog is being hyper behind me. We'll ride up close enough to hail the guards. Do they turn and aim crossbows at me?
No, but they don't have crossbows. They're all clutching spears. They don't use them in any kind of threatening manner. One of them steps forward and nods at you. State your business. Why are you here in Krezk?
We would like to speak with the abbot.
Oh, very good, very good. Come in then. If you wish to speak with the abbot, you are welcome.
Thanks be to you, good man.
And what do the group of you do?
Follow in.
Along, go to see
Yeah,
what's
I
going on with this there abbot.
As you walk through the thick tower area that flanks the gates going into the gatehouse, you notice that
Roll initiative.
there are, in each side, there are several men seated on benches that are carrying bows and crossbows, but they are not threatening you or doing anything. The ones above have apparently given you all the entry permission that you need to have.
So this is like a murder hole.
Pretty much, yes.
Oh. Well, at least we're not being murdered. The lad continues on. Takes note of the guards with ranged weapons, takes note of his lack of ranged weapons, and quickly goes through the murder hole to the other side.
On the other side, a slightly better uniformed man holds his hand up, steps in front of your group, and says, "Please, I know that you have said that you have come for the abbot, but I must send a relay to the burgomeister to verify that he wishes you in the town. Wait here if you would, please." And you are left standing with this man who sends off a low-ranking officer, low-ranking soldier to fetch someone. And after a few minutes, a man appears. He is well-dressed in somewhat of noble garb. He's a little bit on the heavy-set side, but not obesely so, and he is balding. He comes up and he nods at you. "Greetings, I am Dmitry Krezk. Why, they said that you have come to speak with the abbot?"
Yes, we come from Valaki, and we've heard tale of an abbot who has raised your son back from death.
He looks very startled. He blinks, and word has already reached the outside regarding that. I am amazed. That only happened like a week ago. That is amazing. However, that did not all turn out so well. Come. I will bring you to my house. And he brings you into his to a larger house. It looks rather ordinary. It doesn't look like this man takes great, he doesn't show off his wealth. He has a very simple sort of lifestyle. And the house is larger than the others in the village, but not a lot more elaborate than the others in the village.
More humble than the previous burgomaster we've encountered.
I like this one. I was at first gonna say we're here to depose you like Valaki, but no. I like this one.
Also, no giant cat for you guys to riot over.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah.
We can think of something.
That's the
I can
element
be
that triggers.
I can be the giant cat. No one knows what an orc looks like.
Victor can be a giant cat.
See, now I'm just picturing you with cat ears, and I will never be able to get rid of that image.
You're off with cat ears. The sound of 10,000 pens hitting parchment.
Alright, so let me just get your party token out here so we've got kind of an idea of where you're standing in this. How you doing, Lynn?
No, I'm just thinking. I've got that wonderful, like, all the bad vibes are being set off, and I'm not sure how to deal with this. So I'm just gonna stay quiet.
Oh, I'm looking at this map and I see that it is not a safe area. Look at those areas where there's gap in the wall and other areas. Like, look higher up. There's
Yeah, I see the
instead
gaps
of,
in the wall.
instead of wall, it's trees. That's not good defense.
To be fair, walls aren't much defense against vampires who can just walk up them.
But these walls aren't for vampires; they're for other stuff. You know, like wolves and whatnot. And
Steep incline
wolves
patrols.
can just
and
go. Yeah,
I mean, it's not showing us anything that look like hills or elevation or perhaps the trees are covering where those walls would be. I don't know.
Oh, it's the abbey's built on an incline, and besides, for all we know, that place
Yeah.
could be a massive
Area
sanctuary.
right
I mean,
here.
it
This
is
is
a
all
genuine
one
priest.
massive hill.
No.
Or maybe the trees there are just horrifically thick and they've grown so tight that, you know what, you really couldn't walk anything bigger than like a squirrel through them.
True.
To be fair, a lot of these forests aren't conducive to large armies going through. They could probably only be like 5 guys at a time going through those trees.
What you do notice is
When
in
people
the
like-
sloped hillside there towards the what you assume to be the abbey, that there is some farming going on there. There's simple plant farming, corn and things being grown there. And so there is some kind of agriculture here in this town. And he leads you to this house here.
Uh-oh.
Hmm?
I accidentally turned off the role play.
Ah.
Or roll 20.
Yeah, when you're closing windows.
No, not the roleplay.
When he takes you inside, you find a woman who is tending some people with some rather minor injuries. They look like they're kind of ordinary injuries that people would have in daily handling of their duties and things that they would do, skin knees and that kind of thing. And she looks up and kind of blinks at the large party coming in. And Dmitri says, now that we are out of obvious range, we can talk a little better. As I said, I am Dmitri, this is Anna, my wife. Our children, I'm afraid, are not here right now. And he kind of looks at her like with a look that...
Please leave a message after the tone.
Yeah. You give me an insight roll to see how much you read into the look that he gives his wife.
I was going to ask you that. Yes.
God damn it, I noticed nothing.
Inside.
Okay, nothing.
Damn it! Duroc scored higher than me. What is this nonsense?
I'm just more wary. I've heard miracle stories before, and they.
I rolled an 11.
No, you didn't.
The
Rolled
guy
an
who
11. I have a +7 insight.
Oh,
Gore,
who died, they just replaced him with a freaking changeling.
Vlad definitely notices this look, and Duroc, coming from a background like he does, where people frequently make more chin moves and this kind of thing, indicating go over there or whatever. He's a little better than average at reading facial expressions, and you can tell that he's kind of given his wife a look saying, let's not discuss all the other things, sort of thing, letting her know that he's not yet ready to discuss everything that is involved in this. You do notice that the house is pretty much one room. It's a very large room, and there's a large bed that is clearly the Burgermeister and his wife's bed, with only a very simple divider between where there were 3 smaller beds, cot-sized beds, or what you might call a twin bed-sized beds on the other side of it. one of which this person who has a skinned knee is sitting while she is tending it. There are no children evident in the house.
He took him. The burgomaster took us to his house and not to the abbey.
No, he took you to his house specifically.
He's got to find out why we're here before he goes taking us to their holy man.
Yeah.
Oh.
We don't exactly look. In all fairness, we are probably the most mixed race group they've ever seen, and one of us does have a bone over his face. Just throwing that out.
You mean people
Out of character,
in this
of course,
area
and
have
again
learned
with
to be a little bit suspicious of newcomers? Ah, never.
yeah. Not to mention we've got like what possibly the only orc in the area.
Only remaining orc in the area.
They probably don't even know what an orc is.
Even Sylvia, I mean, she's probably pretty exotic.
I can pass
And
for
then
human
you
if
have
I
the
don't
guy
show-
coming into
If I
town.
like,
on a
if I
glowing
don't show
blue
off, if
horse.
Sylvia doesn't show off her ears, which she's not usually prone to do, she could definitely pass off as human.
Yeah, she is
And then you
always
get the guy.
established that she keeps her hood
Hmm.
up.
And sorry, my sister's home. And then you get the guy coming into town on a glowing blue horse.
Oh yeah, you guys are so not conspicuous at all.
The horse can vouch for me. It's from God.
It's from a god. Yeah.
It's
that'll-
from God.
Anna, the wife, finishes putting a bandage on the knee, pats the fairly young man, he's probably about 20, pats him on the shoulder and says, "Be careful where you walk next time. There's lots of things to trip over on the hillsides." And she kind of laughs, and he kind of rolls his eyes like, "Yeah, I'm clumsy," and gets up and thanks her and walks out of the house. The Burgermeister says, "Now, you'll say you have come to speak with the abbot, but first I would know of you. You come speaking of an event that has only just recently happened. I would know how you know of this fact, and I would ask you who you are and what brings you to the abbot."
Vlad, who at this
I'm gonna
point
try
would-
and stop Vlad before he says anything. Just like
Just nope, silence.
let me.
Let the social character speak.
So anyway,
Sure. No.
And then she said, "What?"
Goofball. So with the flourished bow and respect towards the Burmeister, she's like, she'll pretty much go, "Forgive us for just opening up with that little piece of information. Sometimes my companions have a little less tact than others. However, can assure you our intentions are very in the best interest of many of the citizens of Barovia. We've helped liberate Valaki from some of its more darker issues that it's been having. We are currently campaigning the most recent fight against Strahd, though I have a pretty good feeling that this one will fare better than the rest. I mean, granted, there's not much to go on, but hey, if you put a little faith and trust in someone, it takes you a long, long way."
The man, as
bold.
you say the name Strahd, he holds his hand up and says, "We do not speak that name in this village."
how many
Forgive me.
times has Derek said you say the devil?
I'm sorry.
I prefer to horrifically mispronounce it.
Again, do forgive me. I do not fear this man. He could not scare me possibly worse than I have been scared before.
Yeah, we gotta be honest. He really hasn't given us as much trouble as we expected him to.
It's not a
But
matter of fear.
But
It's a
I
matter
will.
of respect, and we give none to him. That's why we call him the devil.
But
not
in
2%.
the presence of those who are not as comfortable as openly saying it, I will respect the fact that you do not want to hear me use that word. So he who causes many issues,
Voldemort.
But
we're here to remove him from his current standing.
He
We
nods.
And
should
she'll
call
just leave
him
that.
Rophiliac.
So,
Would you like me to do a persuasion on that, or?
yes, roll a persuasion, see exactly how he responds.
Roll for
to
smooth talk.
Oh my god, no! The one time it fails me.
He kind
Still
of
an 11.
raises, yeah, he kind
No,
of raises
that
an
red
eyebrow.
red's
Yeah.
not.
He kind of raises an eyebrow. He's not entirely persuaded with this. He says, I apologize that I am less than convinced of your argument. That we have many who come through saying that they are going to defeat the lord of this land, but they all die,
Oh.
they are all gone. There is, you will pardon me if there is a certain degree of doubt in my mind regarding whether you can do this. And as such, I am not sure I should bother the abbot with your presence.
Okay, quick question, Seeley, before I begin this next part of how I'm gonna try and fix this. This was the town the wine was going to, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
We really should check on him.
Curiosity question. Has two representatives of the Dawn Watch arrived with a cask of fine ales and drink from the local winery?
Did he specifically send the Dawn Watch or just members of the
We sent the
What
the
happened
Velaki Guard,
was
but they were representing. But go on,
What-
Bud.
Epotus sent Captain McHale.
No, you
and
did.
Okay,
Captain
so if Captain
Epotus
McHale
sent
was
Captain
the one,
McHale
yes.
and two others to the winery, and then we sent them from the winery to Krezk.
Oh,
Yes. And
Yeah, but on
Captain
behalf
McHale-
of the Dawn Watch, which
Captain
is kind of the
McHale-
idea.
Captain McHale is wearing the Dawn Watch tabard, so he is actually an official member of the Dawn Watch, so he would recognize that thing. And he says, "Oh, you mean Captain McHale and the corporal? Yes, they arrived with
Yes.
wine. You had part to do with this?"
Actually, yes, we helped actually fix the situation at the winery.
Oh, very good, very good. I am most
Felled
pleased.
the demonic tree that could have terrorized most of these woods and slayed a bunch of the dryads that were already enslaved to the beasts. You know,
Turned an
Hey.
undead army.
Oh, very good.
we actually cured a lot of this wood.
It has been wonderful to have wine again. We were completely out for nearly a month. It was absolutely terrible.
Well, hopefully that won't be the case in the future.
Before we continue, I'm feeling my folk tales intuition kicking in. Can I do an insight check on the building? It says my kids are away, my kids are away. Is there absolutely any evidence that children are even in here lately? Like, can I do an insight check to do my sort of crime scene analysis again? Like, is there any recent evidence of children being
Give
here
me an
at all?
investigation check.
Ah! I need more skill points. Ah! Come on!
On the
I know, right?
surface-
Teasing me.
On the surface, you can see that there are toys in a small cabinet behind, as if children may live here. And obviously, in one secondary cabinet, there are some belongings that look like they would perhaps have belonged to maybe a teenage youth, perhaps a boy. They're kind of masculine sort of tools, but that doesn't mean in this world, in this land, that definitely means a boy. It's just that there's a knife in a leather sheath and various things of that type that might have belonged
A craft.
to somebody who was learning crafts or might have done some hunting or something like this.
Any recent evidence at all? Anything at all? I mean, I probably didn't get advantage, I'm guessing, because I rolled a 9 there, so I probably
With
didn't
a
get advantage
9
on the 21.
With a
So
9, you cannot tell how
Yeah.
recently these were used.
I'll keep this thought to myself for now. And leave Merwin to do her thing.
Please, now that I know you were part of the delivery for the Dawn Guard and the wine, would you tell me your names? I need to know who you are and what brings you to this strange task you seem to have set for yourself.
Well, I can tell you, it is one not by chance, but by unfortunate fate. And then she slaps Matt on the shoulder. He can tell you more about it, and walks behind him.
Slaps flat on the shoulder.
Yeah, she basically just pushed you ahead. I'm sure he can tell you more about it.
As I'm getting pushed ahead, finally given him permission to speak, Vlad offers his gauntleted hand, brushing off his Dawnwatch tabard with the other hand. Vlad Zakil Tazyara, at your service.
He nods. You see a kind of a recognition in his eyes, kind of a, he looks at the Dawnwatch tabard and so forth. He seems to kind of brighten up at your words.
We are not here by choice. In fact, I'm certain that if given the chance, most of us would leave at this very moment. We are from outside of, well, most of us are originally from outside of Barovia. We were...
You got cut off.
I know, my sister's talking
My
to me.
sister.
I didn't catch that.
We were brought here by the devil himself as sport. Seems that his playthings have given him a bit more than he can handle.
He's been known to do that in the past. It is not uncommon. Almost all who come, however, are soon dead. Tell me, lad, I must ask you a question. I see you wear the same tabard as Captain McHale, but I must ask you another question. Ilthazziara, that name, I know, from long ago when I was but a boy. You have relatives here?
Relatives no more.
Was your father from Bares?
Long story short, my family caused quite a bit of trouble and met and became a little bit too acquainted with the waters.
He nods. My condolences then. Your father was a fine man and a very decent burgomeister. There should not have happened to him what did. I feel your pain.
Vlad nods and says, I thank you for your empathy. For your sympathy. So you could tell that my vendetta against the devil is slightly more personal than the others.
So I can see.
My family owned a mill outside of Valaki, what has come to be known as Bone Grinder. Are you aware of it?
It is an evil place.
Evil no more. We have come from Bone Grinder, and we have cleared it out. The evil of this land has permeated it, and I wish to destroy it and build it anew. However, unfortunately, I do not yet have time for that.
You bring us great many tidings that Valaki is safe, that the wine and the winery have been protected, and that Bone Grinder is no longer dealing in its dark magics. Therefore, I will place the services of Krezk at your disposal. These are simple people. They are not wealthy. We do not have great commerce or great wealth for any of us. We are simply workers, and we share what we have with each other. When one has food, we share with the rest of the village. We therefore do not have a lot to offer you. We have only enough to go around for ourselves. But we will not stand in your way if you wish to go and speak with the abbot.
We would not take your supplies from you. We are able to fend for ourselves. And he reaches into his bag and pulls out a couple of his good berries, and then puts them away, and says, "But what you said about wealth, you are not entirely correct. You have your freedom, and you stand against the devil. That in itself is a wealth of its own kind."
I could say that we stand strong against the devil, but mostly we try to keep our heads down and not draw his notice. This is why I'm careful with speaking his name. I do not wish him to think that we are rising against him, because I assure you he would send his armies to devastate this town.
Wonder if we can talk to the great and powerful golden lizard about this one.
I may come back later for a proposition. For now, we would wish to speak to the abbot, and we would wish to speak to Captain Mikhail. Is there an inn of sorts around here that we would be able to stay the night at?
No, not as such. We do not have an inn, but we would be willing to make cots and accommodations for you here. I have one of the larger houses in the village, and we will welcome you and provide for you for shelter.
Can I do an insight check on the Burgomaster? Just Meister, just to see if he's been genuine throughout all of this?
Yes, you're just basically testing if he's lying to you.
It's a shame we don't have an advantage.
Yeah, it would have been fine.
You basically don't feel like he's lying in anything that he says.
Vlad nods and says, "I thank you for these." If
Question.
you,
Oop, there.
he looks, as Sylvia speaks, Vlad stops what he's saying and looks back, and then shoves her forward. Sees how she likes it.
Sure. No, I mean, hey, look, items, money, stuff like that, not that important. Sometimes the best form of currency is information. And even a small town like this can be well versed in mythology and story and legends, and we could take that as trade, in a sense. If you can provide any information that would help us, maybe either locate some stuff or just information about the surrounding area, that would be amazing. I think the rest of everyone can agree with me.
Out of character, Moen. Thank you. Basically, my entire thing here is going to be that. So,
When you say the surrounding area, you mean specifically the Abbey or Barovia in general?
I guess surrounding area, as in anything within the certain vicinities of the town. Like, okay, so we have the winery to one side. We have Velaki in another direction. Okay, well, what happens if I go due south? What happens then? Like, where does going due south of here take me? Where does going due further west take me? Is there any?
You have a map that you have along that was given to you by Danica.
Yeah, but I mean, like I guess what she's looking for is, I heard deep in the woods there's like a haunted well of some sort of weird magical power, and no one understands why this well shoots like green jello or something like that. Like, she's looking for the stories that might lead them to the artifacts.
oh yeah.
Without coming out and saying we're looking for specific artifacts.
Yeah. Don't want to name drop
with
yet.
A general kind of question like that, if he would be as specific as you want him to be, especially with your persuasion roll having been low.
Yeah, I know.
He would just say, well, the Abbey has a great reputation for wonderful things, and there is always the shrine here in the town, which is supposed to be very blessed. Its waters are very blessed.
Thank you, good sir. I mean, like I said, any weird little story that comes to mind, like, hey, I heard there's a talking tree in the middle of the woods, things like that. I'm more fascinated with those things, and honestly, sometimes those little hints of storytelling come up some big pieces of information.
Like walking, talking trees that are getting ready to lay siege to your entire building. It's happened once.
Alex, enough.
He just shrugs and says, if you are going to spend the afternoon and the night here, I am sure that we can tell you of many things. I mean, the woods, the Svalage woods are full of myths and stories of people who transform into other things and strange forces that come. That there certainly is a long history of Barovia of strange things happening. This realm is not without its myths.
Well, since I'm not from around here, those would be amazing to hear about. So just point me in the right direction of who to talk to.
Basically, he's saying if you want to spend time for the rest of the day, he will tell you stories of Barovia and various things. But I would appreciate if you would ask specific questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to be kind of roaming aimlessly in all kinds of directions.
No, I know. I'm trying to think of like specific questions. That was just basically the foot in the door sort of statement. Like she's just trying to get him to open. She's just trying to get him to open up and say, like, "Hey, I'm looking to hear more about different stories and legends. Things like that." It's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I heard like offhandedly, I heard from Wallachia that there's like this weird sword in the middle of a lake. Have you heard anything about that?" Kind of start broad, narrow down from there.
Yeah, if you ask specific questions, he might tell you some things, but with a general question, he would say, well, if you are thinking about the village itself, I would say you probably would enjoy our peaceful shrine. It is very ancient. It is dedicated to the Morning Lord, and it is a most peaceful place.
I think I will check that out. She's just looking for enough to start. I guess, like I said, she's starting vague to kind of find a way to pinpoint what she's looking for from there. Like, in that broad general sense of, like, you're overhearing like, a bunch of different conversations, and you overhear someone going, hey, I hear there's a pile of gold buried somewhere out in the woods. Oh, do tell. What have you heard about that? I know I'm sorry for, like, the original vagueness, but it was the only way I could figure formulated things.
The only thing he's willing to mention at this time to go on and on with
shrine,
he wouldn't tend to do that.
Yeah. So like I said, the shrine, she'll check that out. If the shrine pans out to something further, she might inquire more about the shrine type deal. But at least it's a direction.
Does anyone else in the group wish to question? And we're coming up on our ending with this, and we might go a little bit longer because of the sound issue that we had earlier. But anyone else want to ask him any questions with anything that you've heard?
Yeah, actually, Alex was going to wait until after everything was finished, and then try and find in any sort of place like this, there's a place where people relax at the end of the day. He wants to find a place like that just to see if he can sit back, chat, knock back a beer, find about the local lore from the people there.
It's already said there is no inn in the city.
Well, not specifically an inn, but if there's an the place where everyone sits down for a meal. Like, I assume there's more than a few people here,
Like
so unless everyone all goes back to their own house, there's usually like a long haul of sorts.
So basically, from the size of his house and the very openness without walls and rooms, you gather this is like the only meeting house, but it probably is held, it's only for like town hall meetings and that kind of thing. There's not like big tables or a lot of chairs, but it is large enough to hold a meeting of the important people in town.
Vlad has 2 questions.
Basically, there is no such thing as a gathering hall or inn in this village.
Vlad has 2 questions. First one is, what's with this big castle-like thing up on the hill? The second one is, are there any dangers or anything that lurk in the asylum nearby?
So the big castle on the hill, that is the Abbey of St. Markovia.
Oh, that is the Abbey.
That is the Abbey. That is where the abbot lives. This is where the man you wish to speak to is.
This is good.
Once upon a time it held everything from an orphanage to the sick to the incurably insane. It is not used for that anymore. Some myths still surround it, that there are odd sounds come from it at various hours, and you have heard the bell that rings periodically, probably for prayers or such things, but that is all that happens. The abbot, he's a very holy man. He has done some very remarkable things, as you yourself mentioned earlier. I wish, however, that I could tell you that that story turned out entirely the way it started, and he kind of glances aside at his wife. I'm afraid Ilya, our 14-year-old boy, died to a horrible disease of some kind. No one could identify it, and he simply wasted away and died. We begged the abbot, and in his holiness he was willing to resurrect our son. We had him for only a few days, and he ran off during the night into the woods, and no one has seen him since. I fear the worst.
Oh, well, I have to go. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Neutral.
Sylvia will give the guy her most heartfelt, deepest condolences, and pretty much just looks him in the face and goes, "Look, if I hear any stories about what happened to him, I'll try to get word back for you for peace of mind, if that's what you'd like."
Thank you very much. And there's a large sigh, and he says, he was the last of our children. They all died to the disease. This is why we begged the abbot. He was my only descendant left, the only one to carry on the bloodline. We were hoping that we could keep him alive.
When your child was brought back, did you see that he was still himself, or did he seem different?
He seemed tired and distant and confused, but the abbot assured us that this was sometimes a side effect from having resurrection. Here in this land, if people come back by some means or other, they are not always the same as they began. That is not uncommon.
What kind of check do I need to make to see if that's true? Is that Arcana?
Yes.
Or religion?
It's weird here in this land. I'm going to ask you to give me a history check, because what you would know would be based on what people in this land have told you about such things.
I know stuff that happened yesterday.
Can anyone else give a history check as well, or?
I've got history, but it doesn't really make sense I'd have any history about here.
Would it be possible for me to attempt any, or?
Sure, anyone can attempt a history check.
Damn it. I know little.
She knows about a week ago.
Sure.
Only rolling this for the laughs if he gets anything good.
Oh my god.
Ha! No better than me.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yep,
I know 2
that's
weeks.
2 weeks. You go 2 weeks.
Drew jumping in.
Oh!
That's a
He
roll
knows
we
about
need.
He knows about a month.
Victor actually he would probably have had advantage on this anyway, regarding things. He knows that resurrection can, if not by perfect means, it can have a bad side effect on the people who are involved.
So Victor, the pale horse goes around the corner.
The pale horse is still a horse inside the building?
I figured he was hanging around nearby. But anyway, the
Outside,
pale
I assume,
horse
tied
goes
up to a
around the
post.
corner, and then Victor shows up. He says, I couldn't help but overhear. Goes ahead and shares that resurrection can have side effects.
You turd. Well played, but you turd.
Don't worry, this is our friend. He was just a little later. He decided to walk instead of have a horse.
Somebody
Victor
said
just gives D-Rock a withering look.
some could even say he rode in on a horse.
He nods.
That one was intentionally in character.
But yeah, Victor would know that, yes, this is correct, that if the resurrection techniques are not the best, they can cause some problems.
Yeah, so out of character, not everyone leap at the idea of vampire. This could just be not particularly refined. We don't have to assume the worst just yet.
What was this in vampire? I mean, come on. Just sort of strut. What are you talking about?
Fake news. It's all fake. It's actually just some guy using minor illusion. This entire thing.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else have any questions regarding the children or anything like this?
Yeah. Well, my character will peek up about this because I knew it. The moment you said that, I was thinking plugging Hamlin and Piper of Hamlin and stuff. But I'll probably chime up and say, I am a brother of a abbey myself, actually, Arnswell on Heath. Though I was more of a scribe and sage, it's where I learnt my craft. Though it pains me to ask you further, but you said the children. How many were affected by this disease?
There were children in the village, a number of them, not all of them, but we lost a great many of our youth. And as I said, I lost all 3 of mine to this withering disease. The 2 younger ones are buried behind the house, and Ilya is gone into the forest.
Yobali, I'm deeply sorry for your loss. It's like he will add this to his information as he was trying to piece together on the way here. Why has he not seen so many children? Things like that. Trying to think what I can do with this information. Really, do you have any place of higher learning here? Perhaps schools, and the abbey itself must be a great store of information. I spent many times simply translating tomes over from old to new in my time at the abbey.
He kind of brightens up. Oh, I'm sure the abbot must have many books. The abbey itself is quite old, and he is a very learned man. You will have to ask him and see. I'm afraid our people as a whole do not have a great deal of book learning ourselves.
I'll gladly help where I can, then. I've much experience transcribing ancient tomes, old to new, restoration. I'll be very much pleased for you to introduce me to this man. When would it be best time for you?
He says, oh, I will remain here. You simply need to go up and announce yourself at the gate. I am quite sure the abbot will welcome you with open arms. No one is allowed up there unless they are cleared here in the village first, so he will know that you have spoken with us.
Understandable. Should be no different for any other abbey, I suppose.
I mean,
No.
is there a particular reason for that, though? That makes it kind of strange.
Kind of strange to do what?
I mean, I don't know. Seclude oneself? I don't know much about abbeys. Sorry.
This is the point
It is
of
not
a
uncommon
monastery.
in the faith.
The faithful often reserve their lives to prayer for others, and he has run the abbey for longer than any of us have been alive.
How old is this guy?
I am not sure. He appears fairly young, but he has been here all of my life. And the man you're speaking to is probably in his mid-50s.
I am going to give a look over to Victor, just like a casual, glance over at him.
Victor
And go,
kind
huh?
of shrugs.
I definitely narrow my eyes at the Burgomeister. I am very skeptical right now.
Well,
Huh.
I would suggest then we go for a visit then. No time like
We
the
might-
present, while the daylight is high.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Maybe
well.
they might know something about a few other things.
And do you wish any instructions on where this relaxing pool is?
Yes. I will
Wait,
definitely get.
Yeah, you probably should ask him. I just assumed we were going to ask the abbot, which is why I've not said anything.
Yeah, I would get information about the
Yes.
The pool,
about where to find this relaxing.
and he will inform you that the pool itself is within Krezk, not at the abbey. It's in the north end of Krezk.
A sort of vengeance, a sort of sunlight in the west, at a pool blessed by the sun. I'll be very interested in that for obvious reasons.
Very good. So your first trip will be up to the abbey. That's the first place you're going.
Should we just go by the pool first, guys?
I mean, I'm game for either one.
I'd say check out the pool first, just on the way, because it shouldn't be a massive detour.
Very
I
good.
mean, my,
Could use a little exercise.
my friendly, tiny, knowledgeable fellow. I am game to check out both, all, and then vacate. So
Well, with the
Durok's
time
good
we
for one thing, so he doesn't care.
with
Yeah.
the time we have left, I believe you could easily go and at least take a look at the pool before you head up to the abbey. So he points out, he steps outside with you. You notice kind of, now that he has mentioned it, as you step out and some of you look around the sides of the house, you do notice some fresh graves that are back towards the rear of the house near the trees. And there are 3 graves there, but he spoke about one of them having been resurrected, so you assume that might be what's involved there. But he points to his left as he steps out the front door and to the north and says, the pool is as far as you can go north in the village. It is up beyond the houses.
good to know. Thank you, good sir.
Thank you.
So,
Let's see, we start trotting off.
very good. You say your
After our horses have been tied up somewhere, I guess.
or you can leave them or whatever. You head north up to the thing. You come to a kind of a Y in the path in the thing, and you notice that over to your left there's a beautiful gazebo, but it's decorated, but its paint is peeling, and you can see that the wood is very old and it looks very rickety. It looks like a strong wind would probably blow this thing down. It is really a weak thing. Figures, Mike's back. I just got all the things reset. I'm going to go back to the avatars here. Anyway, you see this gazebo there, and what all did Monarch get for what his knowledge of the pool was? Tell me what he does know about this. I can't remember everything I told you.
I started with the Hermit perk discovery, which means I have made a great discovery and pertinent to the campaign. The actual description I've posted in our chats before. It's actually a perk for having the Hermit trait, because I lived in the Abbey for so long.
Yeah, but I need to know the specific information I gave you about locations.
I've always said that I've left that with you, and we never really got back to each other on it. So it's always been very much up in the air what I know. We've just been going off the idea that I know about the sword, and that's why I've been pushing everyone towards the artifacts, because I basically have a sort of working knowledge of
You
these
would-
artifacts as they're associated with my faith.
you
I studied with.
You would probably have some kind of writings that would indicate that the sword was not in the water itself. But as the party moves on towards the pool, which you can see glistening through this little group of trees, you come on one of the most beautiful sights you've seen since you've been in Barovia. Even though the skies are gray overhead and you would expect to see gray reflected water, the pool shimmers and sparkles as if sunlight was dancing on it. And as you look back towards the gazebo, you notice that the shimmers and sparkles of light actually are bouncing off and reflecting on the gazebo. And from the angle that you can now see, where you can get a little bit of the front of the gazebo where you would come into the front of it, you notice there is a statue with its arms stretched out towards the east.
Victor stays well clear of this, and he's going to walk around the pool to the opposite side of where the gazebo is. And then experimentally, he'll take off one of his gloves, kind of revealing kind of his pale hand. And he's just going to poke the water. Just like one knuckle deep, because he has a feeling he's not going to like it.
He doesn't like it. Long and short of it, he doesn't like it.
Ugh! Ugh! It's pretty much what you would think. He puts his glove back on.
I want to go and inspect the gazebo.
Very good.
You said the statue was over there, right?
It's under this gazebo roof, being protected from the elements. The man,
Yeah, I want to go and inspect that.
the man, as you approach, almost looks like it's a statue of a barbarian. He's bare-chested, his arms are outstretched towards the east. But as you get closer, you realize it's a statue made of wood. The wood is quite old, but seems to be in better shape than the gazebo itself that is protecting it. The face is sad, but a kind of a loving look on the face. He almost reaches out as if he wishes to embrace someone standing to the west. It's he looks like he is a man who cared a great deal and bears the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Can I do another history check or something?
Yeah.
Or what would I do to?
Do a history check based on the things that you've been saying.
Better than the last one, but still not that great.
Basically, guessing, you're assuming that this is probably, it doesn't look like the representation of a god. So, you are assuming it might be a statue of the saint that was part of this village?
Okay, what was they called him again? They meant it was the Abbey of Saint
Markovia.
Macovia.
I don't see anything. Oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
I don't see anything else like within the water, or like around the statue, or within the gazebo. Or do I have to do like an investigation or
You can do an
perception?
investigation if you want to specifically peer all over the gazebo and really investigate every nook and cranny of it. Give me an investigation.
Sure. This whole town, like, yeah, of course.
Is anyone
Like-
else with him?
I'm kind of on edge after hearing about this.
Monarch would have
Old
advantage.
but young.
Well, my thought was I'd come over and give everyone a sort of debrief more than anything, and just say like, I'd go over my preliminary notes, which everyone gets bored of and starts making these rolls. I'm going to say. And he will go over and say, like, well, there's no evidence to suggest it would be in the water. It's related to the Saint, might be related to the Macovia, but it wouldn't actually be in the water itself. Though, I want to say, doesn't someone else have another clue I'm not privy to? I can't remember. So we got that a falseness we have to look out for. But I think that's just Vlad that might know that, and he's not here right now.
No, I believe the only false statement that she made was about Aragal having that he was a man of false intent.
In that case, I will go over my preliminary notes, and then I will attempt. What do I need to do? An investigation or insight to piece together all the information I have again?
Investigation to see
Trying to cheese it.
what connect. But you have advantage to see what
Yeah.
this has with connection to your notes. And as you are looking around, because you feel like there's something connected to all of this, you are the only one who notices that well back under, there's like a trellis surrounding the wooden floor that is raised about a foot off the ground. And there's like a crisscross trellis all the way around that opening. And you noticed glimmering unnaturally in the dark, because it would be a very dark area. You notice a gleam like something is reflecting light underneath and well back in under this shrine.
I'll suddenly stand up. I believe the sword, or at least some kind of item, might be underneath this shrine. If it is indeed magical in origin, it would explain why there has been no rust or dulling of the edge after all this time. Though it does beg the question of discreetly getting underneath. I will have to suggest myself, being the smallest, of course. Perhaps someone could assist me jimmying up a side.
Victor's arm just appears from out from behind the corner, like holding his Gulfaya shovel.
Durok can help you.
He's shallow.
Discreetly.
In order to get at what you can see shining in there, you would have to rip part of this trellis side off of the shrine.
Could I just try and like shove it?
See, if we break it, then they're gonna get pissed. Oh, okay.
I'm not saying break it. Can I push it?
I will say you can push it with a strength roll.
Whether or not it'll move is the issue. Whether or not it'll move.
Well, and if he crits that nonsense, and he pushes it over.
Can't they do what they suggested, digging a little bit so I can get underneath? Or is the description we've got in our mind separate from what you said?
I thought we were on stone. I don't think we can dig.
No,
It's a little wooden gazebo, so assuming we're on the outline.
With a wooden crisscross.
Yeah.
Trellis.
Crisscross.
It's the trellis kind of thing that plants grow in, but frequently they will use it as a runner around the edge of gazebos. It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
This crisscross trellis
so could
is all
they...
the way around the bottom of it, except for a couple of stairs on one side that block that section.
Yeah. And you say I can see glittering underneath one.
Yeah, glittering back in underneath the floor of the gazebo itself, you can see this glittering.
So could
an opening of some kind.
Could they then? Could they suggest then perhaps like digging in the earth next to the edge of the gazebo so I could try and clamber underneath? Because you said there's like a foot between the ground and it.
Yeah,
you said there's like a foot up, so
it's maybe a little bit more. It would be enough for a hobbit to slide in under.
great. Because I'm assuming Riz doesn't want to go in there.
Shovel. Yeah, he doesn't want to go anywhere near that.
So I'll suggest to Derek to start digging a small thing for me to slide under, and I'll start taking my jacket off and my waistcoat and like hanging up my cravat and stuff like that.
I'll do that, and I'll also handle my rope because I got a 50-foot thing of rope, so he could fashion it up in a way to like him to use to shimmy down, and we can pull him back up.
And after about 15 minutes of digging, you would be able to open a small area underneath the trellis that Monarch could jimmy himself down through and get into the interior. The building shakes and rattles as you do this. Give me, who is doing the digging?
Me.
Give me a dexterity roll.
Ugh. I have goodish dexterity. Dexterity or saving? You said dexterity, right?
Yeah, just give me a dexterity save. Yeah,
Not bad.
okay, You're
That's
not
not bad.
The building kind of rattles and shakes, and it makes you gasp a couple of times, worried that it's about to go over because it looks like some of these timbers need some good repair. But it actually does manage to withstand what's going on, and Monarch is able to shimmy himself in.
Yeah, looking rather undignified. He basically, despite his finery, you will know he's very fine with not, like, he will cast this aside and just gets into the dirt. Very logical approach. No particular worry about looking messy. He will just scramble underneath.
Sylvia's just going to be off to the side, just holding his stuff,
Thank
glancing around.
you. I will scramble underneath. With the rope tied around my waist or something, just so I can get pulled out, because it's going to be hard to shimmy backwards.
Yep. Dara can definitely lift you back out. No problem.
As you slide into the middle of this, you kind of dig into the dirt where this shine is coming from, and your hand wraps around a hilt.
Ooh.
When you pull the hilt out of the dirt, you discover it is only a hilt, nothing more. Let me see, do you have any kind of magic perception or any skill like that?
I have religion, medicine, insight, acrobatics. You don't get a lot of skills as a monk, so I will have to spend a feat getting some more to justify my
skill
learnings.
are you using for your monk? What do you roll on your monk learnings? History or religion or arcana? What type of learning?
Oh, when I use my monk's...
Yeah, when you did your studies, was it a religious study? Was it a magic study?
I want to say religion, because it makes sense in the context. I did work at an abbey and it was religious teachings, but technically speaking, it was the way I've been talking. It's very medical, but I would say religion because I learnt it at an abbey. Like everything I learned was at an abbey.
Then give me a religion roll based on your studies. And I was gonna say I'll give you advantage, but you didn't need it. When your hand lays on this, you have a feeling like this hilt has always belonged in your hand, not necessarily with a sense of possession, but more like a eureka sense. This is it. This is what you have spent your life studying.
There will be a sort of like and then it's sharp tug of the rope.
I started pulling them out.
I will come out, dirt smeared on my shirt, hair, a mess, and I'm holding what appears to be an incredibly ornate hilt. And he'll just sigh and goes, you know, my initial studies were wrong. I always thought it would be curved in that sort of direction, more like the saber of Maltese. But here it is. He'll say very proudly, not really getting that it looks probably incredibly unimpressive.
You found a pummel.
Something curved swords.
You will find a description of the sun sword now in the, let me move it up into player handouts because I think it's in supplemental. It's in magic.
That's right, Monk's got a lightsaber, people. Yo, Becca.
Yeah, I see the picture. And yeah, it does look like a lightsaber.
When it's activated, which we haven't done yet, so that's the thing. So I'm just holding this very leathered, battered pommel gemstone het suddenly, and I'll be complaining that I thought the point should be pointing downwards. I'll actually be saying, like, I swear it was going to be like the saber of Maltese. I've studied this for so long to actually see it in my hands. Cannot describe this emotion. I finally found it. This was a myth in the Abbey at Holtoni. A myth!
As we end the evening, tell me who is eventually going to, how are you going to decide who is going to wield this sword? I will.
We're gonna have to figure it all out.
I'm going to ask some questions. Victor, are you going to do anything with the sword?
Probably not.
And let me see, we've got, I'll ask Vlad, we can discuss it during the week. I'm thinking of who's involved here yet. Probably there wouldn't be too much difficulties with any of you in taking it, but you will,
Give it to Sylvia so she'll never use it.
whoever winds up with the sword is going to find a presence in their mind as part of their carrying this sword, and I will talk to you more about it. So I will need to know who is going to be doing it.
Initially, you described to me quite vividly about the fact that when I pick it up, there's a feeling of eureka, like I have always studied this sort of thing. Unless someone basically says we should give it to this member of the party, I'm holding on to it for now for study. Because
I was actually going to, as Sylvia goes back over to give Monarch all his stuff, she's going to discreetly open her bag and motion to shove it in before someone sees them with it.
Must we? I mean, I can keep it with my notes. We need to study this. I mean, the blade's missing, of course, which means
we can still study it away from the people who think this thing is sacred, because if that thing was powering the good vibes of that pool, we are in deep shit, good sir.
Put it in your bag.
I am not going to steal the damn thing. I want to know what it does just as much as the rest of you.
No, I'm talking to Monarch.
Who will be a bit... There's something about the sword. He'll look at it for a moment, then like cough, try to adjust his cravat that is not there, and put it in Sylvia's bag, and then dust himself off and say, "Yes, we must be swift. We must make the consequences to these people who probably look like vandals. Quick, everyone, we must make something to the abbot." And he'll put it in Sylvia's bag, and he'll get dressed.
You ain't gonna see that sword anymore.
I am not going to steal it, you son of a... anyways, is it possible to use prestidigitation on the spot we dug to make it look like it wasn't there anymore? Or is that something like a survival thing to do?
No,
we can fill it in as well.
Yeah, I can put the dirt back.
Yeah, I mean you can shove it back in place, or you can use prestidigitation.
Yeah, I'm going to do that to make it look like the thing was untouched, and leave it at that. Mainly because it's one of those things where she's now thinking, if they realize we took something from this, we are most likely not going to have any friends here, and that's a bad thing.
Victor peeks around the corner.
Probably wisely. All right, with that.
Did your compatriot suffer from hydrophobia? Did your compatriot suffer from hydrophobia? He's been very touchy about the water.
You know, let's go check out the Abbey right now, and then we'll talk about that in greater length later.
Very well. Though I must study that sword related it. The blade's missing. That's I think account for. Though
maybe we can find out something about it. Maybe we can find out something about it in the Abbey.
I might have an idea actually. If I can just validate something at the Abbey. If this is what I think it is, then this is something marvelous. And dawns on him that it might not need a blade. But he'll happily get dressed and just start talking to himself practically at this point.
Hey, if this is anything we're talking about in your notes from before, I am down to find out what's going on with you. Right now, I can be the most discreet person in this entire group and get out of most situations. I'm best at hiding it for right now.
And with that, I'm going to call time.
Yep.
You will be arguing.
We're gonna see this sword again.
You'll be arguing it in a debate sense as you walk up towards the Abbey quietly, discussing it. You would go back towards town and head up towards the Abbey. You have to walk actually quite a long ways to get up to the Abbey because it's got a lot of switchbacks. They go back and forth, and you hug this rather steep area, walk along areas where there are tiered farm fields and such that are here as you head up for the Abbey. So we will pick up next week as you arrive at the gates of the Abbey, and I will adjust the video tonight so that people who tune in on YouTube will get reasonable sound instead of sound missing again, since it set it back. It keeps, what happens, I'm realizing, is it keeps setting it back to the sound system on one of my monitors. And I don't know why it keeps reverting to the monitor when instead of the proper sound for your voices. And I keep getting, over and over again on the weeks, I'm getting my voice, which comes in on a different speaker, but not yours, because it has reset to this monitor speaker. So I'm not quite sure. I'll just have to be very careful to make sure I check it right at the beginning. All right, with that, we will wave and say goodnight to the watchers or the YouTube people. We hope you'll tune in with us next week as they explore the Abbey of St. Markovia. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Later.